Hands up if you understand what I'm saying in English. Excellent. Hands up if you're going to wait for the translation. Okay, excellent. Good. So I will proceed apace. I'm not sure if my presentation is actually showing on screen yet. Shall we look? Anything showing up? Yeah? How many people have heard of SketchUp before? A few people. How many people have heard of Google Earth? Why is Earth more popular than SketchUp? It's very strange. It's too bad. You need to promise me that you're going to go and try SketchUp, right? Hands up, like this. I promise. I promise to download SketchUp and erase Google Earth off my computer. Okay. I'm actually originally from the SketchUp team that joined years ago, so my allegiances are very clear. Do we have a presentation to put up there? Anyone? Are we projecting? It would be really good, because these aren't my slides. We'll go. Let's go play. Do we have anything to look at? Aha. Okay, cool. So this is the way I like to start. Hello, everybody. We're going to pretend that the slides were up before. How many people here are students? Okay, how many people are educators, teachers? A few people. Are there any people from NGOs or non-governmental organizations? A few people? Okay, it's a bit of a strange group, right? It's sort of like fish and apples, a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the best demo of SketchUp and Google Earth that I can, and I'm going to focus on SketchUp and education and Google Earth for NGOs. And obviously there's resemblance everywhere, but what I'm going to do, let's see, is I have to apologize, first of all, because I actually have a flight to catch this afternoon, and the reason I have to leave early is his fault. His name is Chatham. He's 11 weeks old. So if you want to blame somebody for me cutting my talk short, it's his fault. Or his mother's, depending on how you want to look at it. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, let's look at Google Earth, first of all. So how many people use Google Earth again? That kind of thing? How many people know about place marks? A few people, okay. How many people know about KMZ files? Less people. And how many people know about historical imagery? Even less people. So this is perfect. Let's show you some things in Google Earth right now. Oh, goodbye, Chatham. Okay, we'll put him away. Let's see. Let's fire up Google Earth. And assuming the internet connection is working, it should be just fine. Is everybody here from Mexico City? Pretty much, yeah. Okay. And did you come specifically for my talk? Yeah? Excellent. Okay, good. I appreciate that. We'll go, I'll try and do well, though. So I created a little place mark that zooms me in on Mexico, which is good. The first thing I wanted to show you was place marks. So let's say there's a place in Google Earth that I want to be able to come back to right away. Do you see these things right here? These little guys right here? Watch this. If I go in, let's say I want to go to Mexico City, and I'm going to turn on borders and labels because it's easier to tell where I am. So let's imagine that I want to create, I'm doing a project for school, or I'm creating a file to distribute on behalf of my charity. See, it's apples and fish again. It's really hard. Let's imagine that I want to create a place mark that's right here. And of course, because you're experienced Google Earth users, you all know that we have photorealistic buildings in Google Earth, right? And this is largely because of SketchUp and some other programs. But let's say I wanted to create a way to come back to this building every single time, okay? I want to make it so I can click on something, like a link, and come back right here. This is how I do it. This little thing up here is called Add Place Mark. And if I add a place mark, and then I have to make the place mark visible. So I'm going to say I want my place mark to be, well, maybe it's a golfing thing. We'll say golf, just like that. And we're going to say, you know what, I want it to be nice and visible. Did it make it visible? Where is it? Do you see the golf thing? I don't see it. description. Anyway, we create a place mark, and I'm going to say bad golf course, like that. And I'm going to say OK. And very importantly, what happens is I created this thing right here so that anytime I'm anywhere in Google Earth, did you see how that got created right there? Like that? Anytime I'm anywhere, let's say I'm in Africa. Okay, so I'm in Africa. I'm not actually in Africa. Brasilia, this isn't Africa. What am I doing? That's terrible. You can tell I'm Canadian. We don't do geography in Canada. That's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to me today. Okay, let's go. You don't have to be smart to work for Google. You just have to be willing to spend a lot of time on a plane. So we'll go here. Let's say I'm in Africa, right here. Kigali, actually. And I want to go directly back to where I was before. All I have to do is click on that place mark, and Google Earth will actually just flow me right back there. Is this new to anybody? This is sort of the important thing to know about using Google Earth. So it's the difference between creating content and just showing content on Google Earth. So does anybody have an ex-girlfriend they want to spy on? Ex-boyfriend? Yeah? Yeah, so what you could do is if you knew where maybe she lives or he lives, I don't know, your preference, we could do that here. We could say, yeah, they live right here. I don't know what building that is, but let's say we're right here. I'm just going to create myself a place mark and say I'm trying to follow a person. There we go, lady, right there. And I can say spying on, ha ha ha, like that. And then no matter where I am in Google Earth, I can always just double click on that again and it'll fly me directly in. Okay. The second thing I want to show is KMZ or KML files. Hands up if you've ever heard of a KMZ or a KML file. Not really, right? So this is important. Let's say that you, let's see, it was your girlfriend, right, that you want to spy on, and she lives under the big flag. Right. So what you want to do is maybe I'm a detective, and you want to send me this place mark so that I can open it in Google Earth and I know exactly where it is. Instead of sending me directions for some reason, you want to send me a place mark. So the best way to do that right in Google Earth is I can just click on this, right-click, and say Save Place As. And we'll save the place as, I'm going to say Place Marks. And it's called Spying On, and I'm going to say Save. But did you see the file extension right here? You see how it's KMZ? This is what you have to remember. In Google Earth, the file format is either KML or KMZ. Now, for extra bonus points, who knows what the K stands for? Anybody? K? Keyhole. That's exactly it. Right. Why keyhole? So originally, before Google Earth was part of Google, it was a company called Keyhole. And so KML is Keyhole Markup Language. Makes sense, right? Now, what's the difference between a KML file and a KMZ file? A KML file is a single file, and a KMZ file can be multiple KML files all wrapped up into one. It's very simple. If you zip together a bunch of KML files, it creates a KMZ file. And this is a file that I can then email to somebody, and it's very easy. All they have to do is click on it, it'll open in Google Earth, and they'll go directly to where I was standing. Make sense? Okay. So if you're creating a project for school or a grant proposal for your charity, you can absolutely use KMZs and KMLs to create what you're looking for. Let's save that. Okay. I am going to go up to, let's zoom out, and let's kind of come up here. I'm going to go to, let's go to New York. What I want to do is I want to make sure that this historical imagery selection is checked. So if this isn't selected, you're not going to see what I see. But when you have that, and you zoom in close enough on, let's say, Manhattan, I'm going to actually turn off my 3D buildings just so that this loads a little bit faster. But watch, as soon as I zoom in, did you notice what happened up here? You see this timeline? Watch, if I zoom back in the timeline it goes back to every single version of the aerial photography that we have for that area. So this is New York City in 2006. That's maybe not so interesting. Some of you, who was born after 1994? This is depressing. Anybody? Really? Okay, good. So everybody is, at least you can drink. Anyway, this is, for some reason, for 1994, but if I go all the way back, there's 1978. It's not a very good photo, obviously. Ta-da. Like that. So that's the only photo that they have for that. And if I keep going back, here's 1974, and I might be able to go back even further. So what I'm showing you is the ability to go back in time in Google Earth. What we did is we gathered up all the imagery we could find historically, and we put it on a timeline so that you can go back if you're doing a project. Let's say you're trying to show how, I don't know, the glaciers are receding, or the rainforest is going away, or one of those things that NGOs like to talk about a lot. It would be really helpful to have historical imagery, right? And so now Google Earth actually presents that for you. Okay. Let's keep moving. So we went through those things. We looked at historical imagery. I did the demo. Google Earth Outreach. Has anybody heard of this? No? Okay. Google Earth Outreach is actually a special program that we offer. There's good news and bad news. So the good news is that NGOs and other registered nonprofits are eligible for free Google Earth Pro licenses. The bad news is that right now Mexico isn't a country where those are available. So it's not very useful to you. But we're working to extend this to as many countries as we can. So what I would encourage you to do is send angry emails to, I don't know, the president, whoever, I don't know, whoever you want to send emails to. You could send them emails and say, we want Google Earth Outreach here in Mexico, because it's a really valuable program. What I'm going to show you, though, is where you can find example of Google Earth Outreach files. If you go to the Google Earth website and look in this Explore here, look, I'm just on the Google Earth homepage right there. And I go to Explore and Gallery. And then I say, I want to look at outreach projects. Now, these outreach things are almost always done by nonprofits and NGOs. I can look at these things. This one is probably familiar to you. I think Jill showed this earlier today. Yeah? So what did she show it in Google Earth, or did she show it just slides? Slides? Let's actually look at this in Google Earth. Check it out. I'm going to click on that to see what it looks like. And I'm going to say open in Google Earth. Now, pop quiz, what kind of file what kind of file does it create? Oh no, it's a projector. I told you I'm not very smart. It's probably on me. Anyway, what happens is it creates a KMZ file, or this is just a KMZ file that gets downloaded to your computer so that you can play it at any time. So check it out. I'm going to go to Appalachian Mountains. Notice? Let's see. All we're going to do is just double click on that, and it's actually going to do this. I'm going to get rid of historical imagery. And if I go to this guy right here, it's going to say double click to play tour. I'm going to double click on that. And look, I get this little timeline down in the bottom left. Now, there is actually an audio track that goes with this. Do you guys, can you turn on the audio from the computer? Is it possible to play the sound? Anyway, I think you get the idea, right? There's a soundtrack with a very concerned-sounding person talking about how this is a bad idea to blow up the mountains in the United States so that we can get the coal. It's very bad for all the people. The important thing is that instead of just sending a regular KMZ file around to people that can download, what these people have actually done is they've created a tour, meaning all I have to do is click on that and watch it in Google Earth, and I literally get a soundtrack, and I get navigation, flying around, very sexy and delicious. It becomes more like a movie that's actually happening in Google Earth that anybody can actually play. Now, I'm not going to talk about how to make a tour today, but these kinds of help materials are easily available online. If you just do a Google search for something like creating a Google Earth tour, you can learn how to make these kinds of things. This is also, incidentally, a fantastic idea for making projects for school, if you're a student or if you're a teacher. Hands up if tours are new to you. A few people. Okay, well, that's good. Let's just get rid of that. Let's take a look at another one, actually. So I'm just going to get rid of that file. Delete. Actually, we don't need to look at another one. I think you guys get the idea. Let's go over here. All right, let's talk about SketchUp. So, SketchUp, how many people have tried SketchUp before? A few people. How many people are very interested in SketchUp? What did you promise before? Remember, you promised to do what? Download SketchUp, exactly. SketchUp it's a 3D modeling program, and I'm actually going to use it in a little bit. But the idea was we wanted to make a 3D modeling program that was easier and cheaper and faster, not faster, easier and cheaper than any other 3D modeling program in the world. And the idea is that it should be the lowest common denominator, right? It's the first 3D modeling program that everybody can learn because it's free. There is a pro version, but more importantly, you can get a free version. And because it's really easy to use. SketchUp's available in English, Spanish, and 10 other languages. It lives on your computer, which means you don't need an internet connection to run it, which is really nice, because if you happen to teach in a school in a rural area where maybe there isn't good internet, or you're a student who lives at home, maybe you don't have a good connection, maybe you're an NGO who travels around in a white truck and you don't have an internet connection where you're going, it's really nice to be able to use some software that doesn't require that. That said, there is some online content where it's really nice to be online if you can. We originally developed SketchUp for people like architects, construction managers, engineers. Right now, some of the really cool work in SketchUp is being done by people like set designers. So did anybody see Harry Potter? So the whole Harry Potter world, that's all designed in SketchUp. Tron. A lot of the Inception. So a lot of the sets for Inception were all designed in SketchUp. It's amazing how much of this stuff is actually being done in SketchUp in Hollywood. Why do you think it's all being done in SketchUp? Anybody? Because it's easy, right? And these people who do this stuff are kind of old, but not. Sorry, I was just kidding. That's not even funny. It's not that they're old; it's that they have no time. I mean, these are people who have no time to learn anything. Hands up if you don't have time to learn software. Really? You have time to learn? You need to get busier. Because most people don't have time to learn software. And so a lot of people in the film industry are using this stuff because it's really easy and quick. So again, it's 3D for everyone. It's intuitive. How many people know how long the trial session for the pro version of SketchUp lasts? Yeah? 8 hours. We give you 8 hours to decide whether you want to spend $500 on SketchUp. Because everybody can do a project in 8 hours. It's that easy. It's affordable. How much does SketchUp cost? Free, or the most expensive version is $500. It's popular. We think it's actually the most popular 3D modeling program in the world right now. Over 2 million people use it in any given 7-day period, and that's a huge number compared to other 3D modeling programs out there. And most importantly, it's connected to Google's geodata store, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that right now. Okay, so let's jump into SketchUp. SketchUp is by far the most interesting thing you're going to see at this whole conference, I promise. So again, SketchUp, remember you download it. It's a program that lives down in your dock. It's not like a Google app where you have to find it in your browser. Does anybody know the name of this little person in the window? Anybody know her name? Her name is Susan, but it's okay. Her name is Susan because she's actually a programmer on the SketchUp team. We choose a different person for every version of SketchUp. It lives in there. More importantly, why is Susan in every new model that you make? What's that? Scale. That's exactly it, right? So if I'm in here and I take a rectangle and I draw a little box like this, is that a house for a person or a house for a dog? If I didn't have Susan in there, there would be no real way to know, right? I could measure and use my measuring tools, but by having Susan in the model, it's really nice because I can see exactly how big something is without actually having to measure. So, you know, that's this house for Susan, and this is maybe a small city or something. But the idea of scale is very important in SketchUp. Okay, let's zoom in on Susan again. The next thing you notice in SketchUp is these colored axes. Does everybody see? I'm practicing my Spanish. Rojo, verde, azul. Yeah? All right. It's way more fun to say them in Spanish. Incidentally, you have better names for your colors than we do. So you've got Susan, and she's surrounded by by the colored axes. Why are they colored? Why are these different colors instead of just labeled X, Y, and Z? What's that? It's easier, right. And the reason it's easier is this. Watch. Let's say that I want to draw a line, and I want that line to be parallel to the red axis. I'm just going to make it until it turns red. There we go, red. Let's go parallel to green, red. Let's go back in the green, red, and green. And what I've done is I've made a model. Actually, it's just a flat piece of nothing right now, with perfect 90-degree angles here, without ever having to type anything in. And that's really actually very important, because what we're doing is we're looking at a three-dimensional space on a two-dimensional screen. So any point, and this is the hard part, any point, like let's say this point, is an infinite number of points in the depth coordinate. Does that make sense? Because we're looking at a three-dimensional world on a two-dimensional surface, any point is an infinite number of points, which means we need a system where we can communicate with SketchUp and tell it exactly where we want to be. So watch. If I want to draw a line that is going up in the up direction, what color should that be? Azul, right? So we're going to go up, blue, and I'm going to come over in the green, and let's go back down in the blue. And what I've done is I've drawn a face that's right there, and it's perpendicular to the first one I created. Now, if I'm not paying attention, I could just go ahead and create this and not pay attention to the colors, right? I could say, da-da-da, I'm very good, and I can draw in perspective, except look what I ended up doing. That's kind of not at all what I was expecting. But the reason is why. Why did it end up messed up like that? This is the one important thing I want you to remember from all day, except that you're going to download SketchUp. In SketchUp, color is direction. So if you're drawing, you're always watching the colors when you're drawing. And then you won't go wrong, I promise. Okay. The next tool that is very important in SketchUp is this tool here. This is called push-pull. And if I click on a face, click, I've just made something in 3D. I can take this orbit tool. I can move around just like that. I could take this offset tool and offset some little walls. Let's take push-pull and just push this all the way down again. There's Susan. Uh-oh, it's filling with water. Swim! Swim, Susan! This is a stupid joke. Anyway, sorry. Susan has died at 100 terrible deaths, but that's not one of them. So we're going to get rid of that. Oops. My favorite way to do this is actually to take the push-pull tool and push it and then click. Oops. Let's click there, push-pull all the way down until it goes there, and then it actually disappears. So there's Susan standing in the middle of nothing. We can get that face back by just clicking there, and now it's solid. Make sense? Okay, let's pull this back. I would like to let's pull this over that way. Now let's say I wanted to create some sort of a little, I don't know, a doorway for Susan. I can come up here. I can take my push-pull tool again and just push that through, and there's Susan standing there. Yeah? That's good? It's easy so far, right? It's not a big deal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole thing and make it into a group. And then I'm going to go up and I'm going to take my rectangle tool, and let's draw a rectangle that goes like that and a rectangle that goes like this. And I'm going to, oops, mess up. I'm going to pull this up. Actually, I'm going to take offset and go out like this. And then I'm going to pull this up. And let's pull this up as well. Let's select all this and delete it. Let's take this here and go across. And then maybe what I could do is go from midpoint to midpoint. And if I want to pull that into a roof, watch, I'm just going to move this edge up. Ooh, it's kind of exciting, right? Up. And then we're going to go, watch, here we go. I'm going to go up in the blue to there, and then I'm going to go back in the red to there, and then I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go click, 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 click. It's just like building something out of paper, except paper made out of lines and fairy magic. Okay, so this is a little house thing that we have right there. Make sense? Yeah. Okay, next really cool trick that you can do, if I take the shadow engine, check this out. I can turn on shadows, and I can change the time of day. So this is morning, noche. And then we're going to go over here to February, and we can actually go throughout the year. Now, how many of you think that these shadows are accurate? How many people think they're correct? Really? How many people think they're incorrect? You have to vote one way. It's a binary decision. If you're going to come to a Google conference, you have to understand ones and zeros. So who thinks they're correct? How many people think they're incorrect? Oh, everybody still didn't vote. Okay, the answer is, where is this house, right? So what is the third piece of information we need to know in order to figure out if the shadows are correct? We need to know latitude, right? You need to know where on Earth you actually are. Now, by default, all models that you create in SketchUp are in some particular city, and it depends where you are when you download SketchUp. But there's a very cool thing you can do. Watch this. If I come in here and I start a new model, and I say I want to make a model that's in a very specific place. This specific place happens to be in Barcelona. Let's make something somewhere else in the world. Name somebody, someplace in the world. Where should we go? Yell it out. Huh? Germany. Where in Germany? Huh? Munich. Okay. Are you from Munich? Oh, okay. Well, otherwise, that's good, actually, because if you knew anything about it, you'd probably be able to know that I'm wrong. I'd be in South America instead of Africa again. Okay, Germany, Munich. Here we go. So we're in Munich. Just anywhere in Munich. That's fine. We've got some really beautiful stuff in here, but let's say I wanted to build a model of... oh, actually. Hey, John, do we have Street View in Germany? We do? I don't think we do. Germany got very angry about Street View, didn't they? Let's go somewhere else. Let's go somewhere that isn't angry about Street View. Where should we go? California? Whereabouts? What's that? London? Well, London's not in California. That was terrible. You're worse than I am. Let's just go to California. Even I know that. Okay. We're in the middle of California, and I don't know who this is like a dead animal. Okay, that's perfect. What we're going to do is make a little shelter for this dead... No, we're not. We're going to find a road that works a little better. I have no idea what this is. But look, there's this little house here. There's a little house. Let's say we want to make a model of that house. I am going to draw my little thingies here and say grab. And what SketchUp actually does is it grabs that piece of the earth and it sticks it right down there on the ground. Most importantly, what it did when it did that is it came in and it geolocated this automatically. So it knows it's in California, and it knows its latitude and longitude, which means the shadows are accurate now. So let's see. I want to make... I'm just going to draw a little rectangle here. And I'm going to pull this up. I don't know how high this house is, but we'll say something like 12 feet. And then I'm going to take my paint bucket. I'm going to paint the texture on the roof of the house. I have no idea what this is. Let's go there. I don't know. Maybe like this. Maybe move. I don't know. I'm sort of making this up as I go along. It's maybe like that. And then maybe like this. Does that look right to anybody? Yeah, maybe. We'll kind of do this, and we could paint the roof there, like that. But what I don't have is I don't have whatever this thing is that's sticking out the front of the building there. I need a photo texture for this. So maybe I could just right-click on this, and I could say Add Photo Texture. And we cross our fingers. And look at that. That's Google Street View. That's the front of the house. Ooh, so if you want to spy on somebody like your girlfriend, she's a very unlucky girl, I have to say. Yeah, we're going to do this like that, and there's that house, and all I have to do is I can come in here and I can say, I just want the front of this thing. I don't know where it is, but maybe it's like this. Dun, da, da, like this, bump, ba, bump, and I can put it here, dunk, da, dunk, and I'm going to say grab. And check it out. It actually painted the image directly on the little house. That's pretty neat, huh? That's actually the first time we've been able to do that, just very recently in SketchUp. Now, I've got this little house, and I want to freak this person out. This person probably lived in LA, and they were tired of all the people, so they moved out to rural California somewhere. so thinking that no one would find them, but we found them. And we're going to put them in Google Earth now, where everybody can find them. Here it is. We're going to hit this button, which is Preview Model in Google Earth, and check it out. We're going to fly from Africa. I'm just going to call everything Africa from now on. There. And there's the little model we built. And it's sitting here like that. It deserves a round of applause because it's very sexy and delicious. Okay. So you can see the little model. Now, if I save this file, what kind of file is it? It's a KMZ file, exactly, because it's a KML file attached to a model file in a file format called Collada, which is too nerdy for this audience. Okay. So we've got this thing. Now, how many people here, remember everybody votes because it's yes or no. How many people think that this is live in public Google Earth right now? You think it's live in public Google Earth. How many people think it's not live in public Google Earth? Okay, you're right. And it's good that you're right. Because how creepy would it be if I could just do it? Because you know why? People would make models of really nasty things and they would put them into SketchUp. Because it's not just this that's in Earth. You could pretty much model anything you want. In fact, people do. People are sick. It's the same people who leave comments in YouTube videos, like that kind of thing. They would totally make models if they were using it, and they do. So we have to filter out. What happens here is this model is just living on my computer right now. It's a KMZ file. If I want to submit this so that it lives in Google Earth permanently, I can actually hit this button. I can sign into my Google account. I can submit it to something called the Google 3D Warehouse. Let's show you the 3D Warehouse. Let's see. If I go Window, Components, and I look at my little components here, we have components, so I could say, oh, that's a nice bed. Or let's park this is a good truck. Let's park the truck in... Oh, look, there's even a driveway. That's perfect. Okay, so we're going to put the truck in the driveway. We'll sort of spin this around. But what's your favorite? We should do something more interesting. It should be like an F-16. That's better. So what this Google 3D Warehouse is it's like YouTube for models. This is a huge, millions of models. Anybody in the world can upload to this, and anybody can download. It's all free. And you can search through these things, and when you find something that you like, all you have to do, oh, this one's good because it's red. We'll click on it. By the way, if you're trying to be camouflage, red is not a good color to paint your plane. We're going to go, and also it's like a toy plane. That's really sad. So we're going to make it big. Da-da-da, it's got to be bigger, like that. And we'll say, and this is where I turn into, like, you say, and then this thing blows up. All right, cool. So that's better. All right, so this person has parked their F-16. I can always go back and I can upload that to Google Earth. It says, you want to reload the file. I'm going to say, yes, I do. And there's the plane sitting outside that little house. Now, let's say I wanted to upload this to Google Earth. I could go through this process. I could sign in. Do you think we're going to accept this model? No. Do you think it's robots that look at the models, or do you think it's people that look at the models? Hands up for people. Hands up for robots. Really? That'd be cool if it was robots. But no, it's people. It's people here, people in India, people all over the place. So we have big teams of people. At least 2 people look at every model that gets submitted. But if your model is real, if it's current, and if it's well-made, we have a well-published list of acceptance criteria, then it'll go live, and anybody can make a model that lives in Google Earth. So for instance, if I go to Google Earth, and I go to Mexico City, like this. Now, oh, we can go spy on your girlfriend. We should have just done that in the first place. We'll go back to her flag. Like this. Da-da-da. We'll go in. Now let's turn on 3D buildings again. And some of the buildings, if I hover over them, do you notice that some of the buildings turn purple when I hover over them? If the building turns purple, it was created by a person out there in the world. So if I click on it, this model was modeled by somebody named Miguel Palmeros, who's just a happy person. He probably lives in Mexico, but not necessarily. We have no idea. Model. This is the model. He wrote this little description of it. I can go and look at his profile. And it's super exciting because the project is to have everybody in the world kind of model something. And ideally, we'll eventually have a big giant model of the whole world in Google Earth because people can use programs like SketchUp to model those buildings. Now, from an NGO or an education perspective, it's really neat to be able to create models of the buildings and the places that you absolutely need. Oh, he's even a student. That's exciting. That's a word I know. Okay, so everybody kind of gets the idea of SketchUp now? You've seen some SketchUp, right? John, was there something I forgot to show? No? My friend John is here. Big hand for John, who might not get to present tomorrow. All right. Okay, let's look at the deck again. Here we go. So we did the demo. Let's talk a little bit about SketchUp for K-12 education. If you're, well, do we have to do this? Is anybody actually a student in kindergarten through grade 12? No? Is anybody a teacher of K-12 education? Not even one? All right. The presentation just got shorter. The idea is that by modeling certain things in SketchUp, you can actually learn a lot, right? If you have to model something that exists in the world, you have to take measurements, you have to make observations, you have to work with precision, you generally have to work in teams. And then a lot of the time you actually have to present your work, which works on your oral skills. The other way to work in SketchUp is to design something from scratch. And that's a lot of fun in SketchUp as well. And so there's benefits that educator types get a kick out of for something like that. This is something I wanted to talk about, though. Has anybody heard about the Model Your Campus competition? No? Back in 2007 and 2008, we hosted an international Model Your Campus competition. Students from universities all over the world modeled their campuses in SketchUp and Google Earth and submitted them. And 13 of the best campuses around the world were made by students right here in Mexico. It was so successful, actually, that the Mexican Google office hosted a competition specifically for Mexican higher education students, and the results were actually really beautiful. So this is a blog post from a couple of years ago specifically about that. And so these are some of the models that they made. These two lucky nerds won MacBook Pros. Right. Yeah. I didn't mean to call them nerds. That's mean. Let's look at some of their models. Let's go back over here to Keynote. So that was the Model Your Campus competition. Before I show those models, I'm going to talk about this. So if you want to get Google Earth and SketchUp, what do? You send a letter, right? You send a letter to Google, like with a stamp, like extra stamps, and you put extra stamps and you say, please, you handwrite it, and you say, please send me a disk with SketchUp on it, right? Yeah, right. No, of course not. So what you do is you can just go to sketchup.google.com, and you can download it. Again, it's available in any of 12 languages. With Google Earth, it's exactly the same way. You're going to go to earth.google.com. But of course, anybody who knows anything about the internet knows that the way you get to things on the internet is to just go to Google, right? Just go to Google, or you can go to Bing or Yahoo or something, but just put in SketchUp or put in Google Earth, and you'll be able to find exactly what you're looking for. There's really no reason to write down a complicated web address or URL anymore. Let's look at some stuff in Google Earth, and while these models are playing, I can take some questions, okay? Let's get rid of, back to Google Earth. I'm going to close this. Let's go to Mexico Universities. Could not read file. That's weird. Okay. All I have to do to play this folder of images as a tour is click on it, and it'll actually fly me to every single building that's on the tour and pop this little thing open. What I could do if I don't necessarily want it... Oh, wait. Do I have buildings turned on? I do have buildings turned on, but they're not actually loading right now. This is like guaranteed to make you sick. It's going too fast, right? It's like... And it's... Well, that's scary with the microphone. Sorry. We're flying around too fast. Okay, look, see 3D buildings. And then when it stops, it's going to pop that open. I don't like that. There's a control for that. Watch. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go up to Preferences and say, in the tour, I don't want you to show the balloon. Don't show me the information. Just show me the delicious imagery. And I'm going to go here to Mexico Universities, there to start the tour. And it'll start all over again. Okay. Let's take questions. Questions about SketchUp and Google Earth. Yes, sir?
I have two questions. What's the difference between Google SketchUp and SketchUp Pro?
Okay, so the first question is, what's the difference between SketchUp Free and SketchUp Pro? Let me answer that first, and then we'll get to the second question. If you do something like work with CAD files, if you work with AutoCAD or something like that, it's really nice to be able to import and export CAD and other 2D and 3D files from SketchUp. That's a Pro feature. You can generate a list of the components and other kinds of reports from your model in SketchUp. That's a Pro feature. Boolean operations, right, where you have one shape and another shape, and you want to cut one shape with another shape. That's a Pro feature. And then most importantly, there's another whole product that comes with Pro called Layout, specifically for making presentation packets that are either PDFs or like PowerPoint presentations. So that's the major features. The second part of your question was, when you upload a model to the warehouse, do you maintain the rights to that, or does Google get the rights? We have the terms of service printed down there, so you can read them. But the sort of short answer is that Google doesn't own the model, but you don't own the model either. You're giving up the right to any copyright by uploading it, but it's not like we all of a sudden own it and you have no right to it anymore. I'm not a lawyer, and I read it and I go, okay, so what does this mean? What it means is anybody, if you upload your model, like that red fighter jet, right? Let's say a terrorist hijacked a fighter jet and painted it red and landed it somewhere like that. And CNN wants to put that on the news. And so they go looking for a red fighter jet in the warehouse, and they put it on, and they want to put it on the evening news, on CNN News. Can CNN use your model of the red fighter jet if they want to do that? What do you think? Absolutely, they can use it, right? Anybody can use it for anything they want. The only thing they can't do is take the whole warehouse and publish their own warehouse. You can, just like anything with Google Docs, you can mark something private and then it won't be in the public domain, but by default things are in the public domain. You can also mark something viewable but not downloadable. You do have some permissions over things. Does that answer your question? Cool. Other questions? Yes, sir. Can you use another kind of picture in order to model something? Absolutely. If you've got JPEGs, TIFFs, PNGs. I'm shameless about this, I know. But if I'm back in SketchUp and I want to make a sign, let's see. We're going to put a big sign on the top of this house. Ta-da! And go down in the blue and over like this. I'm going to go this direction and over and up. That wasn't very good. But let's move this out, and I want to paint an image on this thing. I could say, let's import. And then where is the picture of my baby? We need to find the picture of my baby. I don't know where it is. We're going to do something very dangerous, and you're all going to see my hard drive for a second. I don't recommend this. I'm going to change this to image types. And it's hard to see what these look like. These are probably just screenshots. But you get the idea. This particular file is a PNG file. I'm going to say I want to use that as a texture, and I'm going to import it, and it just loads it onto my cursor like this. And I can just stick it right onto there. Now, this PNG file even has transparency, so I get transparency right there in SketchUp. Hold on one second. I'm coming closer. Everybody watch out. Yeah.
Okay, if I have a picture of a car, can I use that picture? You use the picture of the Google Earth?
Uh-huh.
Can you use your own picture? Okay. Can you use the picture of your son in order to make a model?
In terms I understand. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So not my son, but let's say I had a better aerial imagery than what's in Google Earth. I can paint that on the ground in Google Earth. I didn't have time to show that. But you can create your own overlays in Earth. Is this kind of what you're talking about?
No, I mean, I have one file on my hard drive. I have a picture of my car.
Okay.
Can I use that as you use it as a model for the house? You know,
yeah.
This is the measurement.
Yes, absolutely. With any raster image, you can bring it, paint it on the floor, and do anything like that you like.
And you can use it in order to take, I don't know, like a vertical picture of the car and model that.
You can, actually, yeah. So let's say you had, what's that? Photo modeling? You mean with Photo Match? Yeah. Sort of, yeah. Let me show you something. So I promise, does everybody have 5 minutes? This is another very cool feature of SketchUp. I think this is what you're getting at. It's not a car, it's a barn. Is that okay? Okay, let's do that. It's like sort of apples and fish. Again, I'm going to start a new SketchUp model. And I'm going to choose Match New Photo from the camera menu. And let's see if I can find this image on my hard drive somewhere. Barn. Let's see if that works. Okay, so it loaded. This is a barn that's actually down the street from my house, so it's not like an imaginary barn. What we have here is just a photograph, and it's loaded it into SketchUp. Now what I can do is I can take this and I can say, this is the axis origin. And what I'm doing is I'm teaching SketchUp where I was standing when I took this picture with the camera. I was actually up to my knees in snow. We have snow in Colorado. We're going to go this way. Let's see. I'm just sort of lining this up. Let's line this one up. Get that. You see what I did? I was lining up the little bars with the vanishing points in the model. It doesn't work as well for cars because good cars aren't boxes like barns. It's possible. What you do is you weld a frame to your car. And then, yeah, okay. So let's kind of scale this thing up and down. And Susan looks like she's about that size. We're going to say done. Now this is the fun part. I'm going to come across. I'm just modeling based on the photograph. Here we go. I'm going to come up. And let's come across and down. Let's come up from here to there. I'm going to come down maybe from here to here. Let's go up from the center over to there. From here to there. Let's get rid of these lines. Just like this. And I'm going to take this and push it back. Check this out. It's like magic. And then I'm going to go project textures from, oh, we're going to get rid of Susan because she's like a nuclear victim. Okay, project textures from photo. Now watch, ready? You have to applaud if you think this is cool. Ready? Was that good? Okay. Okay. Did that?
Exactly, that was my question.
Sort of? I'm done? Okay. Thank you very much for coming. Go download SketchUp.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Los invitamos a formarse en la siguiente exposición, por favor. Muchas gracias. La salida ya la conocen, es por la parte de la derecha.